just make people a producer. I think it makes my life easier. I'm going to keep some editing here. Sharing going. Oh, wait, but I'm gonna give a couple minutes to get people loading in here. Welcome everybody. I'm just gonna put Waitbot down, but we're not gonna start yet. I'm gonna play a little bit of music for you that's not Waitbot, so you don't have to listen to this until we get people in and I get everything going. Oh. All right, you can listen to this for a minute. I put your link in the cookie, Rock.
Okay. This is for my Instagram, is it?
Yes. That's your Instagram link. So I just went and stole it and put it in there.
That means voice messages are welcome in this show, ladies and gentlemen. If you do want to leave a voice message, you can do, and we can play it. Welcome to some of the audience members here. We've got Jocelyn. We've got Kevin, which I think is Kevin from Stereo, which I haven't seen for a long time. Huck and Jess. Of course, we've got beautiful Deanna. We've got Worm, Truthful Sweet, Woody, Bree, and Sexy Reds. I think that's it.
Yeah, you gotta love when Woody shows up to the show. It's always something when Woody shows up. He shows up every time I play music that is not fireside music.
Right.
Okay. So, hey, Kevin, don't mind you being up here on the stage, but we're going to do an interview with Rock in just a minute. And probably it's okay. We'll probably put you back in the audience until we're finished the interview. But then we are going to welcome speakers up here to ask questions and speak away. Meanwhile, you guys can leave messages at Rock's Instagram, which is in the fortune cookie, or you can type a message into the chat. I will try really hard to multitask. Not great at it, which is why Rock is going to be master producer with me here in the show.
I just want to say a special sorry to Kaylee. I did not see you there for some reason. I don't know if it skipped over you or not, but yes, thank you and welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome everybody coming in. I'm going to probably go just a couple more seconds and then we're going to get started and get ourselves up here on video. Let's go ahead and get that done.
No worries, Kev. I'll just move you to the listeners for now. We'll bring you back up towards the end when we bring the listeners back up, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to end up in...
Oh, okay. All right, no worries. There you go. Thanks for joining. Okay, I'll switch my camera on too. There we go.
There you go. All right, there we go.
What?
Uh-oh.
Did I just disappear? Hang on a second.
You did.
There we go. I don't know what happened.
Okay, there you go. I can see you.
Good.
All right. So, good. Nice seeing everyone here. My name is Deanna. You are in the Laughter After Trauma show, and we are going to do a little walkabout. I think that's what it's called, right? With Rocksteady. Trying to be down under. I'm not sure how good I am at it.
You're doing well.
Well, anyway, so here's a little bit about what the show is about, okay? I'm a speaker, educator, entertainer, and a coach that brings light and lightness to a heavy topic of trauma. I believe that we all experience trauma at some point in our lives, and my personal experience has come from intimate partner violence. And I do believe that that journey led me to finding beauty and laughter in healing. And so I think that we all are self-healers. We all have that ability. And so that's what prompted me to create this podcast. I wanted to be able to provide hope, awareness, connection, and community, and share the laughter after. So that's why we're here. Rock agreed to come on because this month is mental health awareness with the emphasis on men. So for this month, it's going to be raining men. And Rocksteady has like a really interesting story, and I don't know all his story. I only know pieces that I've picked up from other shows that I've heard. But you obviously have a lot of fans here.
Thank you. I have some beautiful friends here.
And
really supportive.
so with those little pieces that I've heard, yes, I love it. I appreciate it. I appreciate you bringing the support to the show too. That's lovely. So I know from stories along the way, just little bits and pieces about your life, but also when we've talked, you said, yeah, I've been through a lot of stuff. So I thought, what a better month than to share your story, right? And let people get to know you a little bit. I think a lot of times you're on the other side of this microphone or the other side of the interview. And so it might feel like a little bit of a switch. I know Stephanie got you.
She did.
You were supposed to be interviewing her and she wound up flipping that on you.
She did, yes.
Rotten.
It is weird to be on the other side a little bit, you know, but I'm in your hands, right? So you guide me however you like.
Good hands. You're in good hands. So I'd like to jump right into it because I do think that your story, might take a little bit of time because I want to explore a couple of different areas that I have questions about. And I have done no research. This is just stuff that I've heard, like maybe some of the stuff from Stephanie's show and whatever. So one of the things that I've learned about you is that your heritage is Italian, correct?
Correct, yes. Very true.
Okay, but you live in Australia. Were you born and raised in Australia? What got you to Australia?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Australia. So my parents, predominantly being Italian, were born in Italy, but came over here when they were very young. So very young, I mean, like 1 or 2 years old. So they were raised very Italian here. In fact, my father, he didn't. He when he hit the first grade, he didn't speak English at all. So he had to get kept down a year because he was only speaking Italian, and even though he was here from such a young age. So, so very Italian sort of upbringing, even though it's here in Australia. So I don't eat Vegemite. I try to steer away from that crap. But, very Italian food.
Yeah. So what area of Italy were they from?
Okay, so my mother was from the north, Pordenone, which it's near Venice, and my father's from Calabria, right down south, so the opposite ends of Italy. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I got to visit some in Italy, and so I was just curious because I know the cultures are kind of different in different areas. It's but I didn't know if you were like, what isn't there a Sardinia or something like that in Italy that has like the highest rate of octogenarians, like people over 100? It's something about the way you guys
I didn't
live.
know that myself.
It's true. Okay,
I'd like to check that out.
There you go.
I'd love to live over that age. That'd be great.
This is what you get for watching Zac Efron in Down to Earth or whatever it is. He did that show where he toured all over the place. Okay. Anyway, bygones. We don't need to focus on Italy. I just thought it was interesting.
Sure.
I didn't know how much of a immigrant. I didn't know people immigrated to Australia. Okay.
Sure.
I guess that's that. Thought U.S. was a very big melting pot.
In the 50s is when a lot of Italians immigrated to Australia, as well as I think the US as well, and another country, I'm not sure where, but obviously we had the choice, or my grandparents had the choice, and they came to Australia for that. So could have well been raised in New York. Who knows?
Totally different accent. Well, I kind of thought maybe you were raised there just because of the accent, and I was just like, well, I'm just kind of curious, so I wanted to know. So, what was your upbringing like then? You said you had very strong Italian heritage, but I know that as you went through your life, you wound up in Korea as an adult and getting married over there. So kind of give us a little bit of the journey. How was your family? What was your upbringing?
That was Thailand. I ended up in Thailand, but
Thailand.
Yes. So typical childhood race. I had great parents. I had a great childhood. There's no real issues there. I can't complain. I'm actually quite grateful for how I was raised with my folks and my siblings. But my mum got cancer around 2004 or 5. And she went through sort of her first treatment and remission. That was a big shock to the family. And when she kind of got through that, She wanted to do like a family trip where we all went somewhere together. She was just going to pay for this holiday, and everyone's going, no excuses. And she chose Thailand. It was like a place where, Aussies travel. It's fairly cheap in Phuket. It's a beautiful place. We've got Bali as an option too, but we'd been to Bali before, so she said Phuket, and I was just like, oh man, why, Mum, why want to go to this Asian country? I want to go like fucking America or something like cool, But anyway, beggars can't be choosers. We went along there, and it was such a culture shock for me when we got there. I'd never really been to a place like this. 2006 it was when we went there, and just how it was tropical and it was gorgeous, and the people were so nice, and everything was so cheap, and just so different to what I was used to. So I kind of fell in love with it first pop straight away in Phuket, and I started just doing my own trips there, once a year to then twice a year to if I could squeeze in 3 times a year, because it's still fairly cheap to fly from Perth in Australia. And I was just like, this is God's country here. And I've been to other places in the world in between as well. I have been to the US and I've been to other places. However, this place just grasped me in Thailand, and I thought to myself, I'm gonna work my way to retire here one day and live here. This is where I want to be, So obviously, taking so many trips over to Thailand, you start to understand the culture a little bit better.
Okay,
Only
that
from
was like 16.
Yeah, that was 2006 when we started. Yeah, started going there. Yep. But just to understand the culture from a traveler's perspective. Sorry, I don't know if you're trying
like
to cut in the
16
internet slow.
years ago.
Sorry. Go ahead. I think you're trying to ask me
mine,
something.
Mine's too. I don't know what's happening. Well, I was just getting it into perspective. That was like 16 years ago that you got your first exposure there, and then you just kept going.
Correct. Yes. So that long ago, I kept going for a few years.
Okay.
And I started to build friends over there, like locals, other expats that have been living there. And so over those years, you don't start staying at the big hotels anymore. You start to stay at the more like a little bit more remote places, and you start to experience more stuff in the villages, and you start to sit down and stay with the locals. And it just started to creep up like that. Until in time I met my wife there. So I met a woman who I fell for, and we built this relationship, and it kind of went from there, where she came over to Australia, and she was here for a year, and we went back and bought a little house there for a plan for future to move there, and we stayed there for like a month on this holiday, and then it was just towards the very end of the holiday we found out that she was actually pregnant, which was with my first son. So we're like, all right, where are we going to do this plan, like now, or are we going to do this later? Where are we going to have this baby? So my wife said it would be better to have in Australia. Obviously better future and everything in the Western world compared to there sometimes. But I wanted Thailand, so I won that little debate, and we moved over there.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that, but before we get to that, I want to know, how many siblings do you have?
I have one younger sister and 2 younger brothers.
Okay, so a fairly big family. I think we're having a delay
Sorry,
here.
yeah, I'm noticing
So
that.
we're
Sorry,
gonna
I
have to
don't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
struggle through that a little bit. No, that's okay. So you come from a decent sized family, and you decided to move away from your family to set up shop in Thailand, where your wife is from. Now, I've heard beautiful things about Thailand. It is a place on my bucket list. Can't believe I had that mixed up with where it was, because there's a friend of mine owns a house over there as well, but they go over there and they spend time like with the elephants. Am I right about this? Am I in the right place?
Sure. Yep. There's those places where they help the elephant rescues over there.
Yeah, so they do that. They do that when they go stay at their house sometimes, and they do that. Anyway, side note, I know that's supposed to be a really beautiful place on the planet. So you guys decide, you win the argument. You go, okay, good. This is where we're doing it. I want to be in this place. Mostly, I would assume, is that because of the luxurious surroundings as far as nature is concerned, not about luxury like we consider it in these.
Correct.
Yes.
Very correct. Yes.
Right. Okay. So no first world problems over there.
No first world problems, just plenty of third world problems. Yeah, absolutely. That's right.
Right. Okay. So tell us about how that went, because I know you're back in Australia now. So there's got to be a story. So, and
Sure.
I've heard a little bit of it. So let's hear that.
Okay. So that was probably the younger me making those decisions, which I'm still glad I did, but in hindsight, would have been wiser to stay here. But I still would have had that itch that needed to be scratched to go and live over there. Maybe that would have been okay, but we did it the other way around. We went over there, and I didn't have that much saved up. I only went there with a few suitcases of clothes. Had to leave everything behind. It was really quite tough to leave family and friends behind. It was almost like a mental process where I had to go through like the death of each person to say my goodbyes properly, because I couldn't have just left not feeling that way. It was really hard to describe. It was some people were like, don't go. Other people were like, enjoy yourself. I certainly didn't want to fail, because I thought people thought I wouldn't be able to succeed there. So that drives me more, to be able to rub it in their face. But it's a beautiful thing sometimes, right? So it's a beautiful driver. So I went over there, and I think we've lost you, Deanna. No, are you back? Are you there?
What's happening with this?
Or is it me?
You guys give us a little clap if you can see us.
All right. If you can still hear me, give us a clap. Okay. If you can hear Deanna, give her a clap.
Clapping. So.
Okay, so he's clapping both ways. I think, Worm's clapping too. I think I was having these few issues the other day as well on a show. I think there's some sort of upgrade issue going on here, but we'll have a word to Fireside about that. I don't know if you can still hear me. Uh-oh. I'm not hearing anything now. Is it me?
It's I don't know. It's sketchy, and I feel like it's coming and going. Can you hear me now?
I got you now. I have got you now. Yeah, in fact, I think it's your end now, because the camera's coming on from your side at the bottom. I can see, so I think it is your end there. Okay. I think it might just be the app, though. I don't think it's your internet or anything. I don't know, because it happened to me the other day as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I kind of lost where I was there.
So you didn't want to fail. You didn't want to fail. That's where you were. You did not want to fail. You had something to prove after you kind of had people.
Sorry, I've lost. I couldn't hear anything you said. It's just frozen.
I'm not frozen on my side.
No, it's good now.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't know what's happening, and I don't know.
Deanna, I've noticed this happening on a few people's shows now just recently, since the last 4 or 5 days. I have a feeling something's gone on with the upgrade here, and it is causing a little bit of a problem. Okay. So it was doing this for me on my last show, actually on Sunday, and we should try double tap and swipe out of the app and back in. We can wait a minute, and it might pop back in and sort it out.
Double tap? Okay.
Double tap and swipe out the app and then come back into it. Yeah. We'll still be here. There we go. Give it a refresh. So you guys can hear me okay? Is it Deanna's side, or you can hear me fine? Okay, that's good. Thank you. Apologize for this. There's nothing more frustrating for people up on stage when this thing happens, and it's obviously nobody's fault, but I feel bad for Deanna, because I know. Okay, we've got you, but I think you're on mute.
Okay, live shows, people, live shows.
This might be okay.
Awesome. Okay, so let's try again. So you left off, and thank you, Kevin. At least we know somebody's hearing us now.
Yes.
So you left off where you said your goodbyes. People had mixed emotions about you leaving, and you really just had something to prove, basically. No failures.
Yeah. I'm a big driver with spite. So if someone thinks, oh, you can't do that, I'm like, all right, motherfucker, we'll see. Let's try and I
You're
can't
gonna
let
prove them
them
wrong,
think
right?
they're going to win that way. So, going over there with, I didn't know what I was going to do at the time. I didn't know, I knew I had a baby coming. Um, so it was a matter of course I was going to find a way. I just didn't know what it was going to be yet. Sometimes I need to get on the ground and feel it out and find out what we can do. And that was the case. So we went there and, um, I was looking around for opportunities and what to do, and I didn't have much money, and I was running out of money, and I ended up finding that creating a sensory deprivation tank concept over in Phuket, where um, it was the first one in Thailand, and it was like a wellness center that we created, and that seemed to really take off and work well. So that kind of saved us when we had our little baby, and a way to survive over in Thailand.
Good. So how long did you stay there? Because you didn't stay there forever. Here you are.
Sure. So I got there 2014, and had my son, um, and we came back in, what was it, 2020. So just 2 weeks before the pandemic kicked off. And the reason we came back was this.
Oh,
So we had started the sensory deprivation tank business that went really well. We built that up and sold it for a good profit, and then we reinvested into a tattoo shop called Inked in Asia, and we started this brand where we had a couple of studios. Really, within 12 months, we did really well in that. We built Inked in Asia up to have two studios in the first 6 months, and by the end of the first 12 months, we were ranked number three in Phuket, which was really good. Um, and so I think we're about 18 months into it. We decided that the shop was running well. Let's let's cross over to Australia. Our son was he just turned 5. He just turned 5, I think it was. So we'll get him to the first grade here, and we'll try and raise him in the Western system, because it was just a better opportunity after living there. It was great if it was just my wife and myself, but when you have children, it's a very different story living in a third world country. You really want to give them
mm-hmm,
all the best opportunity you can. And so it was time to move back. That was the reason why we did move back. However,
mm-hmm.
it all went downhill from there.
Well, let me before we go downhill. So, did you still have ownership in those tattoo shops, studios when you came back?
Yes, yes, we did. Yep, that's right.
Okay, okay. So, so you were part owner, operator, whatever, in businesses that were in another country, basically. But you were intending to stay in Australia and raise your son in Australia.
Correct. Yeah, and by then I'd had a little girl as well, so I had two kids. It was
Okay.
about running the businesses from abroad and visiting regularly. So we would have kind of had the best of both worlds. I sort of
Hmm.
felt in a position where I didn't really have to work here, but thought I'd work part time and just pick up the slack, run the businesses, and just build from there. Because we sort of built from nothing to something, which was great.
Right. And you got to come back a success, right? So all your family got to see that, and that was a win. But then you
That was a
said
win.
things took a turn. So yes. So what was the turn? So how old was your daughter when you came back? She was also born
She was nine
in Thailand.
months. She was just
Okay, so
nine
she was
months when
really
she came
young.
back, so she doesn't have any memory. We haven't been back since we've come here to Australia either. So we're planning to do that later this year.
Okay,
So she was, yeah.
w- one more question, real quick. Did your family had your family met your son and your daughter yet, or is this the first time they're meeting them when you
Oh,
moved
okay.
back?
Um, yeah. So yeah, definitely. When my son and my daughter were born, my parents came over. My sister came over with her kids. Yeah, I had family. It's not too much of a trip to get over there. So I was lucky that staying in Phuket, I had friends and family visiting all the time. So it was
Awesome.
it was nice.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Uh, it
mm,
you know did you find, and this is just a question, a side note, that being apart from your family when they did visit, you actually just had concentrated time together and you spent all your time together?
oh,
When but when
wonderful.
you live near each other, you see each other less. Because I lived in California, and it's a good distance. And that's what I found, that when I was moved away from my family, I didn't see them as often, but when I saw them the whole time.
Sure, sure.
So
I when I went over there, the first trip my parents took was when my son was born. Um, to visit us, remembering that we'd already visited this place several times before. So it was just
mhm.
plus I'd find out other friends that were just going there for a holiday, and they'd be like, oh, he's in Phuket, like let's catch up. So I'd catch up with so many people. But it was 4 years before I first visited back home to Australia. So there was some, like my other brothers that didn't visit in the meantime. I hadn't seen them for like 4 years. So that was really good to come home and see everything for the first time after that much time. Um, yeah, but my parents had got to see my kids back and forth.
That's
They'd
awesome.
taken several trips, and then we'd also visit, since that, after that first 4 years, we'd visit like Christmas and Easter after that. So it took a few years to kind of get on our feet, to build again, to come back to Australia, even though I did want to come back a little earlier. But yeah, it was just that sort of timing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well, interestingly, you got back before the pandemic hit, and then probably you couldn't really leave again. So tell us what happened, like from the time you got back and moving forward.
sure. Um, Obviously, all intentions were to come back and run the business. So we'd started two different studios over there, and my my sister-in-law was running one and my brother-in-law was running the other. So, and we had a really good system set up where we could watch the whole thing, and our staff were fantastic. I mean, we I focused on building the culture in our business, and I was running quite a few staff there, and everyone was really, really good. I mean, they're the type of guys that would work the extra time if they had to, or if we rang them up today and said, "Can you go back and do this?" They'd drop things what they're doing to go back. We still have that really strong bond. So it was a really good culture we had within the company. And so coming back here, I wasn't too worried about running the business. It was kind of running itself in a way, and we were just overlooking it. But we came back, and without knowing that 2 weeks before the actual lockdown happened, that there was going to be a global lockdown. So we came back, obviously without any plans, or we hadn't set any plans for getting a place yet or anything. It was to move in with my folks first, and then find a place to move into and all this stuff. But then the pandemic hit, so we were kind of in lockdown for several months at home, paranoid about this virus, as we all know. I mean, scared to go to the shops. We were in like safety glasses and masks and everything to go out. It was kind of a paranoid time. But I loved that we had to stay home in this particular period, because I just got back home, and it was proper quality time with family then. We were like locked up together, didn't have to worry about all the other bullshit in life, right? So that was good. But in the meantime, realizing that we were based off a business of like the travel industry, like the tourism industry, and there was no tourism going on globally. And so my business partner starts to raise a flag like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, man,
Mm-hmm.
we can't continue this track for long, because our overheads, we built so fast that we didn't have a float in the bank properly. Like we were building, but we weren't banking enough for the rate that we were growing. And we invested so much into the actual places themselves,
Right.
into like the brick and mortar of it. So we started to have to weigh up what was happening, and the reality came that we might have had to be shutting down this brand, and I think it hurt more to shut the brand down than to lose the money. I didn't care about the money so much. It was like the whole dream of building was just getting like wiped away. But yeah, that reality kicked in, and we
Yeah.
had to end up shutting the business about 4 months into the pandemic. We just couldn't carry it, not knowing when the future was going to open up again. And to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
if we had held on, it would have only been like a month or two ago, I think a couple of months ago, that we would have been able to open. There was no way we could have held on that long. So we kind of lost it all. I mean, I don't mean
Right.
lost it all, because we invested everything into those businesses that when it was taken away, I was like wiped back financially to pretty much zero. And I'm back in a place now where I thought I could sort of not semi-retire, just get a part-time job, to now having to figure out how we're going to earn for the family, because there's no income anymore at all. So that was kind of a tough trot.
Right, and you're figuring out how to learning that you have to plan this and create income in a pandemic, which is not the same as trying to work and support a family in normal times, where we kept hearing, there were so many industries in the pandemic that had to close, and then there were certain industries that somehow managed to do better, and you had to like navigate, and were you able to tap into those places? And so I know that that had to be really uh, a lot. I mean, that had to be a lot. So what did you do?
Yeah, you're right, Deanna. That was the tough thing, is that you were kind of limited to what you could do anymore because of the pandemic, and it was still in full swing at the time that that we had to shut down the business. So um, one thing I noticed is that I was kind of blessed at the place that we were in then. We were in not just Australia, where the pandemic wasn't hitting that hard because we were in such a hard lockdown, but even Western Australia, where that we're in our own little bubble here. Like, our premier really locked us down. So we didn't really have COVID in our town after that first few months when it was confirmed. We didn't really have COVID. We could roam within Western Australia with no masks and all this stuff. So what happened was, because no one could travel even interstate within Australia or anything, um, we were kind of locked here, and people started to spend their savings on housing. So they were starting to improve their houses and the building industry. So it was like there's been a huge boom from that. So the only thing that made sense to me is, I mean, I'm pretty good with my hands. I used to do handyman before I did, before I even went to Thailand. So I thought it's time to jump back on the tools, but it'd been over a decade since I've done anything like that again. So I did that. I went and got a little like A-frame trailer where I could store all my tools. I went and bought a whole bunch of tools, and I just started a business, and I started doing well straight away. But I was in this mode where I felt, you know, I've lost everything, but I've got a family to support now, and I've got to like get out of my folks' house as well. Like, it's nice that we've seen them, but I've got to get my own place, and we've got to stand on our own feet here again. So I had this catch up mode to do. So I was just trying to work my ass off with hours, trying to take every job I could, squeezing, never saying no to anyone. And that was it. I got to that. And really within a few months, I'd built up, where I had a few staff with me then working. It was hard to get good staff. A lot of people aren't very reliable. But it was about finding the right people and building it up from there. So that's what I did. We started to do a bit of catch up, but it's always been hard to catch up.
Yeah, and so when I talk to people, I'm not trying to coach you here, but
Sure.
this is something I do with people when I'm coaching and trying to get people. Did you lose me?
No, we got you now. It was a
Because I know
delay, but
we're
I can
having a
see
lag. We're having a delay
there is.
again. Okay. Uh, okay. So I get people to look at the different areas of their life, because when one area is out of balance and one area is suffering, and like for this, your career area is suffering, it impacts other areas of your life. It's not just like, oh, well, there's this. It's like, I look at your body, people look at your body, and you're like, oh, well, it's your heart. And they act like nothing else matters. We're going to just take care of your heart. Or, oh, it's your liver. We're just going to take that. But they all impact one another. And that's the same way things work in life. And so when your career and your finances are stressed, it impacts your health. It impacts your family, your faith. So how were those areas impacted in that time?
Such a great point you raised with that, Deanna, because it's truth. I mean, other areas started to suffer because the pendulum swings suddenly on one end, right? It's like financially we're on zero. Got to focus all on there. That you swing the pendulum hard that way to try and catch up, but the other areas suffer. So one of those areas was my health and my relationship with my family, because suddenly I wasn't home as much. When I was home a lot before, even working the jobs we were doing before, it was kind of like I could still take my son to school in Thailand and pick him up, and we'd work between the day. And then when I was at home, I could work on the computer when he went to bed. So he was catching all this time with us together. But with this other job here in a new country where I didn't know he was going through his own little like issues and suffering because he'd just been moved from one country to another, really without being asked. I know he's only 5; he's just going to do what we say, but we didn't really check in with him. And I noticed that had an effect on him when I was at work so much and couldn't be here for him as much as before, which is a normal thing. Father goes to work, big deal, but he kind of needed that extra attention from the move, and he started getting separation anxiety in a big way, right? Which he's only just getting over not that long ago too, and he's like 7 now. My daughter took it pretty well. She was so young, I think she just adapted really easily, and surprisingly, my wife adapted really quite easily too. But it was actually my son and myself that found the struggle of moving from there to here. So that was one thing, but then obviously working, like trying to catch up. My body wasn't used to that, and I think I aged like 20 fucking years in this 6-month period. I was in so much pain from converting, going back on the tools, but I also wasn't watching my diet or anything like that, and I was just more focused on getting work done. So as that led up to things, the end of 2020, kind of the start of 2021. End of 2020, I was starting to feel a heavy load of pressure for supporting the family, pressure from my own mental health. I was feeling the pressure of a few different things, and I blessed that I came across this app called Stereo in 2021, which is where I met many of these beautiful people here in the audience, and it kind of gave me this release where I could jump online, talk with some strangers, troll a few people for a laugh. And even though I was home and I was working, and like when my family would go to bed at night and I'm still lying awake, instead of being stressed, I could jump on and talk to randoms or whatever it was from there, and really start to build some good friendships and relationships from there, which is what held me getting to podcasting.
Yeah. So, okay. So I think we're leaving a significant thing out with your health that I actually do know about. Tell us about how far the health impact went, because I think people need to hear about that, because I think it's important to understand how your mental health, how anxiety, and how when you're in crisis, that can actually really, I mean, it takes a physical toll.
Dave says, yeah, you're kind of cool too, Rock. Thank you very much. And by the way,
You're so
anyone that
cool.
wants to leave voice messages, you can leave them to mine. The machine is hooked up, so we can take messages and down the show. In fact, I think I showed her how to take messages for future, so she might be able to get involved in doing that, and I hope she does. But for the moment, there was still a kind of a lead up, Deanna, to I had a heart attack. I had a heart attack in July 2021. So we're talking the start of 2021 with Stereo, right? And what was happening was that I was finding so much release
Mhm.
and pleasure in connecting with people online that was kind of saving my mental health, that I was still working my ass off with stereo in my ear during the day and then getting home at night and everyone's going to bed. Then I was trying to do shows at night as well. So I was actually pushing myself to the limits then. I was pushing my body a lot without realizing that my health was, degrading from that. But I was loving it. Mentally, I was flying then. I was like doing really well. But it was more about connecting with people. It was called podcasting, but I wasn't really doing serious shows at the time. I was trying to do a few shows here and there, but it led up to a point where mid last year in July, I ended up having a heart attack. Just to my surprise, I was 40 years old. I was having dinner at my folks'. I had a chest pain when I finished dinner. It wasn't anything of a big deal. It just was a discomfort. And then my dad said, "Are you sure you're not having a heart attack?" And like, come on. I didn't even think it was. I thought it would be something kind of major, right? And so I was having this heart attack for a couple of days, and then eventually I got taken to hospital, like wheelchaired in because it kind of got bad at the end, and they were like, "You've been having heart attacks." I was like, "Wow." And that was just a huge life-changing moment from there, from that point forth. But we did get a message from Dave that's come in here. So I don't know if you'd like me to. He said after the heart attack story. So
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, play it. I'd like to hear it in real time.
all right, here we go. It's Dave.
I didn't know we could leave a voice message. Is this thing on? Is this working? Hey, Deanna. Hey, Rocksteady. Deanna, great show. Great guest. I mean, he's okay, I guess. But anyway, we just wanted to say hi. You got the married couple here. I am Dave, and of course, my beautiful wife.
Sam, I am.
Yeah, and anything else?
Hello.
Yeah, that's it. And of course, we got, I don't know, it might be the fake skinny, it might be the real skinny. Say, what's going on, skinny?
What's going on, Skinny?
Anyway, love you both. Love this show. Don't make us cry. Talk about something happy. Or, I don't know. No, this is a great show. Keep it going.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you very much. So,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
And to Sam and to
He's a
Skinny
mess.
too. Obviously,
They are a mess. Yeah, so no, I don't. Yeah. And look, intention is not to make people cry, but I wanted to get to this because I think that the full circle comes with this realization. So what do you feel like you realized in that moment when that happened? Because I mean, 40 is young. My husband had a heart attack at 42. We weren't together at the time, but he was 42. So talk to me about it.
Sure. It was a surprise, to say the least. Even when they told me at the hospital at the time that it was a heart attack, I still was a little bit shocked. I was completely shocked at that. I was next to my dad and sort of just went, "Oh shit, heart attack!" And then it kind of hit me after that. The impact of it, just when you're sort of still so young and you've got young kids, leaving them behind is a tough thing to grasp. So. It was a wake up call in a sense that I don't really know what happened that day. Something did die in me with something died in me with the I don't even know how to put it into words. I was playing catch up with trying to get our finances back again because we lost so much financially, right? So it was like money didn't ever really mean that much to me. I know it's important to have for security and things like that. But here I was trying to build the security. I would rather call it security rather than money for my family from what we'd lost. But even that was just meant nothing anymore. It was just more about like, I need to create memories. I need to make sure my family is in good order. I need to make sure that everyone's mental health is in a good place. So if this actually did follow through and I didn't make it, that they're still in a good spot to continue. And that was really what it's been about since then. And that's kind of been my driver for podcasting. It's probably got a double meaning with that, for my own mental health and for setting up a future for my kids. It would be a great catch up thing if you can make it across the line in this particular industry, which is not easy to do. But I'll also say that in the last couple of weeks, I've had the realization that I've been spending a lot of time doing this, and I need to also focus back on the value of creating some security for my family. So there's been a couple of big events that have happened the last couple of weeks that have just been a bit heavy on my shoulders. And so you haven't seen me online as much actually doing podcasting, which I'll be back next week. I'm just trying to get through a few things. But I'm trying to balance this whole thing out. It's not easy to do, I think, sometimes.
Right. So when I talk about balance, I like to really hone in on the fact that balance is kind of this thing that we put there, and it's myth, right? Like you creating true balance where people think, oh, everything gets equal parts. But balance in the sense of creating harmony and synergy in your life is not a myth. That is something I think that we can attain and we can accomplish if we actually look at those key areas like we talked about just a little bit ago. And you're noticing this. So being able to step back, zoom out a little bit to zoom back in and recognize when you have to give something maybe a little bit more of a priority than something else. The other thing I think is that we sometimes find ourselves in seasons where you might have to be in a season of hustle, and it comes to a place where, hey, you have a sit down and you talk with your wife and say, this is where we are. And I think that for the next 2 years, if I do this, my goal is to get us here. and you have to be on board with it together, and you have to draw the boundaries. Yes, okay, that's fine, but we all have dinner together. Or yes, okay, that's fine, but you bring the kids to school every morning. Whatever arrangements you work into that, because like you said, I think a huge realization for anybody to have is the realization that it's more important to create legacy, to create those memories, to create those bonds, to make sure your family is okay emotionally. If for some reason something goes on, that you've done all the things you can to be there. And I think that's important. But the other thing I think is going to be pretty cool, because I do think you're going to make it in this. You're an amazing podcaster.
Thank you.
The other thing that I think is pretty cool is no matter what, your voice and your face, it just keeps living. It keeps going. And it is something that they'll have to treasure. You know, like, I'm not talking about you being dead tomorrow, but I'm saying, I think the time that we live in right now, our kids are going to have such memories. Like, I look at my grandmother and I go, you know what? Sometimes I'm so mad that I lost a voicemail from her when I switched phones, that I saved forever and ever, because I've lost her voice. And this wasn't around. And now you have Facebook and Instagram and videos and all of this. It's kind of cool, you know? So tell me where the podcasting comes in for you with that.
Okay.
Because I do think you're
Thank you
amazing
very much.
at it.
I appreciate that. Okay, so, and I hope the connection's okay, because it was a little glitchy then. I did catch what you said though, but I hope it's coming through clear now. So from the heart attack point onwards, which was July last year, I really started to take this game more serious with podcasting. I really get a lot of pleasure out of connecting with people, having these conversations. It's stimulating, it's educational. I think these are sometimes more important than a lot of things in life, to get people's stories out, for people to be able to capture these stories so that they're not lost in time. And so I started doing some interviews with people on stereo. It's come across over to Fireside now, but it was the genuine connection with people that I really got a lot of pleasure out of. That seemed to be, I started to get a lot of compliments about it online. There's people here like Dave, Joey. There's more. I'm going to scroll through everyone, but there's a lot of people supporting, support along the way, and it started to give me a lot more confidence in what I was doing. So it's like I was doing it for my own pleasure, but then I started to realize that there was a bit more behind it. So taking it more serious and trying to escalate that along the way, really trying to create a goal for a plan on how I can tap into the market was kind of what was coming about. And that's what I did. And I started to focus on doing that from that point forth. And it was also, I also noticed that it was, I guess, helping my mental health, if that makes sense. Not that I was in a depressive state or anything, but it was definitely keeping me that side of the fence if it was ever to come about. And that's what I did. So, I guess it's been a hell of a wild ride since then till now. And here's where we are today. I don't know much more to say about that right now.
Well, what I want to know here is, does this give you some sense of purpose that you felt like you might have been lacking?
Good question.
Is podcasting filling that, being able to?
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely give me a sense of purpose, because I feel that if I'm just working on the tools, doing handyman work, I might be fixing people's jobs, but I feel like I've got more in me to give to the community than that. So it definitely gives me a sense of purpose. I love being part of a community like this community here. I love being just part of something bigger and greater than fixing jobs. You know what I mean? Helping speak to people.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I wanted to ask you about in your journey was, what part did faith or spirituality play in it, because I feel like everybody's spirituality is their own, of course, but I think it's an element that we shouldn't deny. And part of what I define as spirituality or faith is tapping into a purpose that's bigger than you, recognizing that there's something bigger than you and that we are meant to connect and to serve.
Yeah.
So where do you stand on that?
Spirituality side of it, I don't know how to connect it properly. I don't think I'm a religious person, but I definitely believe there's something bigger and greater out there. If that's what you're saying, and sorry, I'll just kill that call there. And it's a good question. I don't really know how to connect the dots on that, but I definitely feel there's something bigger that I'm aspiring to be, to connect with, and it could be in a spiritual sense, but I haven't broken that down properly yet myself, I suppose.
Ah, fair
How
enough.
was that for you?
I just, for me, spirituality.
Yeah.
I swear we have a delay. For me, with spirituality is first of all, I do believe in God, believe in a higher being. But for me, I don't know if I call myself super religious either. But I do believe that there is that we were created for a purpose, and that purpose is something that drives us. And so when you find something that's turning you on, this is, you have to recognize that quite possibly this was something that was built into you as part of your purpose, that pursuing it is not an option. It's almost like a need.
You're cutting out a little bit. I'm not quite catching exactly what you said there. I'm sorry. It's actually frozen now, I think. I'm not sure if it's my end or not.
Oh,
Can anyone hear us okay still?
All right. Let's see. Testing.
Got you saying testing?
I don't know what's happening.
Clapping's coming through.
Yes, I am saying testing. Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I think I can.
It was the commercial. Can you hear me now?
I think
okay.
So.
So let me just say it again, and hopefully I can say it quickly, okay? Because we have a lag on top of whatever's going on.
Sure.
But what I was saying is that I do believe that we are created for a purpose, and that purpose is something that's deep inside. And when you find something that calls you, like when you find something that pulls you, like this podcasting is pulling you to do, that you're so fired up about it and it ignites something in your soul, I think that is part of that, right? That you were created for a purpose, and you're recognizing that this is part of that, whether it's to serve, whether it's to pull stories out, whether it's to be the middle guy in all of that. But whatever it is, I do believe that is something that's true, that whether you call it God, source, spirit, the universe, that those things are innately in you, and you tapped into something that you kind of like can't turn off. Like it's pulling you and you can't say no. And I think that means you have to follow that calling, more or less.
Yeah, you're right in that. That's something that happened out of nowhere. And you know when you leave school and you're not sure what job you're going to do or what's driving you to do for the rest of your life. Some people do, For me, it certainly didn't have a clue. I guess all those moments were leading towards this. I think at the right age now, where you know what you know who you are more. So I know that this is me. I know that podcast is the track I want to take. I'm not tired or sick of it in any way. I love it with a passion so much that it's something I want to pursue more. So even if it's like, if I don't make it to whatever level that I'm dreaming to make it to, it's just something that you'll never put the mic down anymore. It's something that you always have these connections and these conversations with people.
Yeah. So I love that. I think it's the right place to be. I know for me with, like serving the community of people who have dealt with trauma, and I don't particularly think I'm the person that heals their trauma. I think we're all kind of self-healers, But the person who is ready to talk about that and approach that and feels like they are ready to get their life back together, and find the laughter after, that's where I pick up. And I do feel so compelled to tap into that market of people, because I know what it felt like when I kind of came through it and then was just dropped on doubt and said, okay, your own.
Well,
And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I had to figure it out on my own, but I did. And I tracked that a little bit for people. I just feel like that's what I want to do. And
sure.
that's
And you're
kind of
doing a
led me to
great job with it
talking
too. I've got to
about
say,
things.
sorry about the
So
delay. I think I'm
I
cutting you off
would,
there now. I thought there was a pause, but I love how you're doing these conversations with people. I think it's really important that out of, different shows have different content, but the content that you're doing here is really with helping people and getting their stories out. And I think you're doing a fantastic job, Deanna.
oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Big
Very
compliment.
welcome.
I would love people to come up if they have questions, just because we're kind of getting close to the hour. I don't know how much time you have, Rock, but I
I'm
want
good.
to respect your time. But I also would love people to join into the conversation.
Sure.
You good?
I'm good. However long you like. Yep.
Okay. Okay,
And
good.
we paused.
I'd love people to
I
join in
think,
the
oh no,
conversation while I'm for people.
it's,
I would love to ask you one more question while we're waiting for people to come up to the stage. Oh, I'm not having
I'm
any.
not really catching what you're saying.
All my stuff
Sorry.
says it's good. It's driving me nuts.
I know it's terrible at the moment. I just had a message from Dave said that it's completely kicked them out off the app at the moment. She's going to catch the replay because it's glitching for him so much.
Ugh.
If anyone can.
All right, so let me see if I can get this out real quick. Testing,
Yep.
testing. Can you guys hear
Gotcha.
us?
Yes.
Hello,
Now.
hello. Is anybody out there? Okay. All right. All right. So one of the things that I had a question about was your guests. So a few times you've had some people on that have, been in prison and have done a lot of sketchy things. And I don't have a problem with that. I love seeing people come back from that and becoming mentors. And I think that's amazing. As a matter of fact, Drew is going to be on one of my shows this month. But how do you know these people?
I don't know these people.
That's my question.
I reach out to these
Where's
people.
that connection?
Drew is different. He's somebody who one of my guests prior. It's a friend of his, so I went and met them for lunch and knew his backstory about just a little bit about his criminal past. And actually, since then, just about a week ago, I found out that the people he used to hang around are friends of mine anyway. So that was kind of spun out. But otherwise, I don't know who these people are. I'll generally be scoping through Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, and I just catch people's stories and I go, I'd like to speak to them, and that'll be interesting, and I'll reach out. Simple as that. Yeah. I don't try to get.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't try to get people so much that have like got a huge following as much as I think that their story would be interesting for people.
No, and that's what I love because some of them so I feel like for Drew, he's kind of just starting his coaching and mentoring stuff. And I think it's cool. He's like ramping all of that up right now. And I mean, I don't know what his following is. He may have a big following as well, but I know he's kind of new to the coaching arena that he's starting. And I think his story was amazing, all that he's been through and where he's come from and how he really wants to pay forward from that. I mean, I just think that's incredible. It was a great story. I mean, it really
so
was.
Inspiring from someone who's come from such a hard background to turn around and really, again, the pendulum swung hard the other way where he's just so positive. And I don't know if you catch his videos on Facebook or Instagram, but he's truly a changed man. Some people claim that they're changed, but they're not. But he's a changed man.
Yeah. Yeah. You can totally. I mean, it's legit. So I was just wondering that because I'm like, what kind of sketchy background might you have if you knew all these people? So I was just wondering, you have the
Oh well,
sunglasses and you're rock steady, which is pretty much not your name for sure. So I was like, what is the rest
that's
of the
right.
story? I think the next podcast is, and so this is the rest of the story.
No, well, I haven't had the most innocent background, but it's not too bad either. So, I used to hang around with some thuggy guys when I was younger, no doubt, and I did have some sort of connections to that underworld before. But I've never been in trouble myself. I never got involved heavily. I just was just kind of associated through friends of friends. As you're growing up, it was more about trying to what's it capture the women in the group, really. So if the girls were around, I was there trying to hook off the back of that. I think that was more so it. But
Oh,
yeah, that
okay. I got you. I got you.
yeah, in my player days.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, there you go. All right, Player's got to play. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. Well,
Hate
so
the
is
game, not the
anybody
player.
willing to come up and talk with us? I mean, come on now. That's right. um, I mean, come on, people. I feel like I still see Dave down here, so I don't really know who is actually in the audience anymore because
Me
for
also.
me, Dave is
I figure the
showing.
same thing. So I'm not too sure.
Yeah. So, well, come on up, Deborah. Wendy, come on. Come talk to us, Wendy. Who else is in here? Dave and Sam are still showing. Skinny is showing. So any of you guys, so who else did we have in here? Yay, Wendy's coming. Sam, Joey, Red, Ray, Kaylee. I don't know Kaylee. This is
Kaylee's
a
my
new
real
face
life
for me.
friend from Thailand.
Paul is out.
She's someone I knew before all this social audio, and I actually got her onto stereo last year when I joined, and we've taken that ride together right from the start. So yeah, she's my real life friend.
Well, come on up, Kaylee, and talk to us. Okay, Paul is here. Paul Vato is here. I got to catch some of his show earlier. David, Hugh, and Jess, lovely Waitbot. Jocelyn, Rock is here. Sexy Reds. I mean, I'm just saying that is pretty sexy. Charlie and Bree. So, you guys, I just wanted to give a shout out. But y'all come up if you want to talk. And then who we got up here? We got Deborah. You were up here first. You had something you wanted to add, ask, whatever. Come on.
Up? Okay. I'm making sure you could hear me. Well, because you were asking for people to come up, so I came up to say hi.
Good.
But I was also, I'm a fan of yours, hon, because I love the mindset that you bring to the space of people who have challenges. And I've yet to start my show yet, but I will be soon. I keep on saying that, but I will be soon. But that concept that and it's also Understand Love's Awareness Month, so I have to do something this month. But just the ML element of the mindset that we've talked about in the past, or that positivity, and showing that there's always another way, right? And, especially with the guests that the both of you have, face challenges, pivot, and then find that way to move forward. So as somebody who is like not yet started, or somebody maybe up and coming one day, how are you finding guests? How do you find the people? How do you bring them in? Because that's where I'm working at, trying to make my content creation so that I have a plan for guests. So that is where I'm at, and I am curious about that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you say what you do first, Rock, and then I'll say what I do.
Okay. So yeah, I find my guests when I'm looking online and I'm scrolling and I come across someone who I'd like to know their story. Like for me, not so much for my listeners, but I think that my particular listeners, my particular fan base have the same interests in what I want to find out myself. So yeah, I'll delve into that and I'll try and line up. And look, at first I was getting quite a high hit success rate, but as time's gone on, it's dropped a little, but I haven't been pushing as much the last few weeks. I've just had my own personal things going on. So that's how I find my guests. And it could be from, drug dealers to sexual assault victims to a guy with Tourette's to had a Holocaust survivor. It's just quite random, but they're all interesting stories, I think.
Yeah, now I've listened to some of Yeah, some of those older stories to the Holocaust survivor. I went back and listened to that one. That was a great interview. Um, so, and for me, what I've done, I think it's similar, but maybe I don't spend as much time looking as I do as far as just meeting people when I'm on here or on other platforms. I have met some people through this show. Wendy introduced me to Peter before he was on this platform, and I had reached out to him, and he's going to be on the show. Money Briggs, who I had on last week, was just in a mastermind with me, that a course that I took, and he was just the neatest person. He got stuck with me in a breakout room. And I was like, okay, I really love you, so you have to come on the show. So, I've met people like that. I actually met a couple of authors that I've reached out to who want to do this, and believe it or not, I'm Travis Believes is going to be on here with me, and I've never met him. I saw him one time on here with somebody else, and I loved his message. I went and followed him on Instagram, and I reached out, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then I have a little class that I'm doing with him now too. So anyway, um, yeah, just think that these shows are as to whether or not
Oh,
somebody's going to be willing to say yes. And I'm going to say that most people are willing to, like, you might not be big movie stars, right? But the people who have stories that you will find interesting, most of them are willing. Yes, I think they're
yeah,
just people. People are people.
You're right.
That's what I'm
You're
doing.
totally
that's
right.
what they know to me. So I
I
kind of
don't think
got
it's
that, what's going on for a bit. Because those no's, because I don't have any content really other than one or two stories out there. So I've been getting the note. I do have a yes for next week, so that's good. But I'm still working on it. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Deborah, what are your shows about specifically?
yeah.
So
I
it's
think
really about any. I'm highlighting stories of where somebody has hit a challenge and is turned that around to overcome it. And originally, I was focused in the disability arena because I have multiple rare diseases. But the reality is, everybody faces a challenge. Everybody has to pivot
Sure.
at some time. But it's those people who take that challenge head on and pivot and find their true purpose, and really take that experience and turn that into something beautiful and positive and empowering. And that's what I want to highlight, because I want people, and it is a wide concept, because I want it to be more than just disability community. I want it to expand to people with, like you're talking about, sex trafficking victims, right? Or, I'd be honored to, obviously, I won't say obviously, but those who know me know I am Jewish. So obviously I'm interviewing somebody who was a Holocaust survivor, things like that. Those challenges where we have to face it, and you have that option, right? Where you can either crawl under the blanket and never come back out again, or you can hit it face on and find a way to make it work for you. I mean, I'm not where I planned to be, but I've turned that around to make it something of use and empowering to other people. And I want to help share other people's stories and bring that to the platform as well, and let people know that there are ways to still, I keep saying, keep rolling forward. And as I'm looking at my cat sitting in my wheelchair, I'm looking at him rolling forward. But the concept of that moving forward, no matter what obstacle hits us, we have a choice how we fight it, how we address it. And that's what I want to highlight.
yeah,
That's
and I
great. And
think
and
another thing that
go ahead.
go ahead, Rock.
It cut me off because of the delay. Sorry. Go ahead.
One of the things that I think about in your story, Deborah, too, that I think needs to be a part of or in everything that you do as a theme woven in there, is how you um, do your message with inclusivity. And it doesn't matter what you're including. I mean, that can encompass women, Jews, challenges, disabilities, races. I think that pulls a lot of people together, just understanding acceptance and being included. So I think that's a good piece that I'd be highlighted in your show as well. That's just my opinion,
No,
and it's
absolutely. And
not professional.
but that's also bringing it back to where I originally started from, right? Because prior to my disabilities becoming the main feature of my life, I was going into civil rights law, and my master's program is in diversity and inclusion in higher education. And that's where I had always planned to be focusing, have my energies on, especially in the disadvantaged communities for youth, right? And now it expands to people who are in situations where, I mean, I'm fighting for my medical care, and I have so much privilege because I have good insurance. I live near places, right? And I'm fighting for life-saving treatments. And so all I can think about, as mad as I'm at these doctors, all I can think about is what happens if you are of a minority status, or what happens if you're in a low income status, what happens if you're geographically, isolated. How do you get these treatments to survive, or the specialists to survive? And if you don't have the voice, or you haven't been taught how to frame your speak and to come in with, this is my cause of action, these are possible solutions, this is what we need to look at, and this is what I'm asking for, right? And just summing that up. And if you don't know how to do that, you are disadvantaged in getting anything, whether it's medical care, whether it's employment, whether it's accommodations in a business, or even in your home, hearing your own voice in the family discussions, in the family connections, communications. It's all valid. Mm-hmm. And so I love what you said. I definitely plan to include that.
Mm.
Absolutely.
I love it. Did you have something you wanted to add, Rock?
I was just going to say before is you said that you had a little bit of trouble getting guests for your content. I don't know if you're on Facebook, but definitely one thing I would suggest, and what I do myself, is I join different groups, maybe specifically to the genre that you want to speak about. And then, people will comment, or they'll make a post and then reach out to them and ask if they want to be a guest on your show. I think that's a really easy way to try and get guests. A lot of people don't mind being guests when they get to tell their story as well,
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll try that.
I agree.
Sure.
Wendy, what you got to say? I feel like I haven't talked to you in like 2 days.
Hey, Rock.
Hey, Wendy.
Hey, Deanna. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sending an email to a wacky client that is driving me nuts. And I was very much engrossed in that and listening out of my other ear, which we all do these days, right? I've heard Rock's story before, and I love it. And I'm so glad that you're interviewing him also, because that just gives it a bigger audience, right? And I don't really have too much to say other than, here we are. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Wendy.
And Wendy, while I have
say hi to everybody. I like Real Skinny's picture. I think it's very cool.
So do I. I think he upgraded it. Yeah. Oh, no, not this one. I like the other one that he did. Yeah. It looks like a thug in this one.
And I'm still waiting for Deborah to do her show, really. And let's see. I want everybody to tune into my show. Is it tomorrow or it's on Thursday? Where we're going to be talking how trends rule us. So that would be nice. And Deanna, yes. I kind of miss you. We were talking every night, and now we're not.
I know. I know. So sad. We're going to just have to keep talking. It's fine.
Exactly.
Wendy, I want to just say something real quick. The other day when we were having such a rough time and everything, you were outside. Your husband took a picture of you outside with the orange hanging in your
my face.
Your picture. Yeah. Well, it wasn't in your face, but were you outside meditating? What were you doing?
I was so depressed. I have a really big backyard. And we never go in it, hardly, because it's really big. So I went to the very ends of the backyard and I took a blanket, and I was so depressed. I was just depressed from the whole thing that we were going through for 2 weeks, right? With the Johnny Depp and the show and all of that. And I was just out there. I have never been so depressed, and I didn't know if it was my health condition or what it was. That's what I thought it was, and it really turned out just to be the Depp Heard show that we were doing.
Oh God!
Well,
oh my God! Yeah,
getting you down.
Oh Jesus, Rock! You have no idea.
I haven't been following the story too much.
Dragging her down.
Yeah, I know.
But the funny thing is what happened was I was sitting there and I was listening to like meditation music, and then I jumped and I looked to see what's happening on Fireside, and Bad Bunny had a show, and everybody was in there, and it was random, and Deanna was talking and going into her, her opinions of stuff, and I jumped in right at that moment, and it just triggered me to where I knew exactly what was wrong with me. And it was that I had thought that I could have fun. Deanna, both of us thought we could have fun with a serious situation, and we didn't realize as survivors what it would trigger in us emotionally to our souls. And we started to talk about it in this room. And I'm sure everybody could listen to it. And we all started to like explain how everyone was feeling and feeling triggered by, this discussion that we were all jumping into. And we later on decided to, on Friday, we just did a show that we said, see you later. We canceled each other. And that was
Canceled.
that. Just, we're canceled.
Fired.
So,
well, the reason I asked that, the reason I asked that was just because I think it brings back to the topic that this is all about, which has to do with mental health.
Yes.
And just taking care of yourself. I mean, knowing that, understanding what was happening, and then removing yourself, that's a boundary. And I think I don't know what's been going on with you for the last whatever, Rock, where you said you've been kind of pulled back a little bit, but it does go to you setting a boundary in a place where you take care of the thing that is actually the most important. And that's you. And then your family, those are the things that, like, and you brought this up a minute ago. Those are the things that maybe your heart attack even woke you up to, that these are the things that are important, and the rest of the stuff will happen. It's going to happen anyway. You're going to get by. You're going to pay your bills. You're going to, those things tend to actually just happen.
Sure.
It might not be, you might not be lighting the world on fire, and you might not feel like you have a level of security that you want, but it'll take care of itself. And you start recognizing where the priorities are. And I think it's a big thing, taking that minute to go sit outside and then recognizing, what, this show is telling me. Well, I don't think either one of us realized how ridiculously aired everything was going to be, but we had to take ourselves off of that show.
Right.
It was our show, so we could do it.
And
Yeah.
I watched for a little bit of that show, and then I because I needed to separate myself from that. And I was even talking to my husband today. I have not been watching the news, intentionally not watching the news, and intentionally being in spaces that have like manifestation and mindset and other type of rooms, because of what it was. I have enough medical challenges going on right now that I was being pulled down too much already, that I didn't need to add to that. So I just want to say to Wendy, I actually got out today to my bowls, playing my singing bowls. I decided to do a meditation thing on Clubhouse today. And while I was playing the bowls, there were birds that were right outside my window at the same time. So it was a very calming meditation for like a few minutes. I only did a few minutes. I couldn't do a lot. But yes.
Why don't you do that here? Why don't you do that here, Deborah?
I've done it once here. I'll do it again here.
Yeah, schedule it so we know when to do that. You know what I mean? That would be awesome.
I'll do that.
Wait, Dave is back.
He's back.
We got a clap from Dave. He's back. Good. So, Rock, I have a question for you then.
Sure.
When things get overwhelming and you need to release or step away or take some me time, what does that look like?
I missed the last part of that. It takes some me time. What, sorry?
What does that look like for you?
Okay. It looks like what you've seen here on Fireside. So obviously I've still been doing Shotgun Candy shows, which have been on Sunday mornings in the US time. But I haven't done one of my own interview shows the last couple of weeks. Look, I've just had things going on with family things. I had to focus on bills that have been coming in that I have to focus on with work. So I've had to work more. We've had a death happen, not in the family, but my best friend's father, which I was close to, passed away. So we buried him last week. I had to do the eulogy. So my headspace hasn't been there. I just feel that I couldn't go in there 100% amped like I always am in every show to nail the show and be legitimate about the questions that I'm asking or the interview that I'm doing. So I'm just trying to get past that, and it's just like an extra weight on my shoulder. So I just need to take a little step back. That's all. And I feel like I'm almost out of that now. I think I thought maybe this week I'd get back into it, but I knew I had the interview with you today, and I want to just focus on that first, and then next week onwards, I think I should be sweet. So it's just a little step back. Yeah.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. I don't think you heard the whole question, so I'm going to try again.
Try again.
I appreciate that. No, but I appreciate that because it gave us some insight, and it did give me a little insight to the answer to this question. But when you feel like you have to step back, like you have, and take care of yourself, what does self-care look like for you? Like, what is it? Like, what do you do for yourself? Is it just you spend time with family? What does it look like?
Okay, so I'm again, it's getting a little glitchy at the end of that question, but I think it's kind of what I answered in part of this question anyway. Is that I'm taking a step back from the content creating, and I am spending time with family. Like I'm hyper focused on trying to make sure my kids are good, and that family is sweet. So that's the main thing really. Is my kids. I think they get a few extra conversations at night, with how they're doing at school or anything like that. I just really want to connect with them more because it makes me feel that I can't do any more if my kids are doing good. I hope that answers your question from what I could catch at the end of that glitchiness there. But
yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on with this connection. Yeah. I don't know what to say.
It's okay. It's not you. I think it's the app. Yeah, it's the app at the moment.
Yeah, because I'm getting every now and then this poor quality, but all of my bars are great.
Yes, yeah.
Everything is great. Yes. Every other device is great. So I don't know what's happening.
It happened to me the other day and happened to a couple of other people, and apparently I'm getting messages through the show that they've got full internet and yet it's freezing for them too. So I think the app is just doing some sort of update at the moment. Unfortunately, right at this time that we're connecting on this show.
Right. So anyway, we don't have to stay on here longer, Rock, because I think that the story that we have is great. If you have anything, like just the last part of this would be, if you have one thing or two things that you would advise for people as they are approaching or going through any challenges in their life. Hang on, I think Brian came up, did he? Is he up here?
Brian's up here, and I'm kind of missed half your question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well,
yeah, I feel bad even asking to repeat it.
Let me try something. I keep switching, hoping that it'll do something different. But Brian, did you have something you had? Any questions? I think you just popped into the show. I didn't know if you had something to add to the conversation, or are you just here to say hi at the end of the show?
Yeah, I'm just here to say hi at the end of the show.
I love when Brian pops in.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Rockstead. Hey, Deanna. And hi, Deborah, everyone listening.
So Brian is famous for popping in at the end of the show and saying hi. And I love it because he's always like steady on this. So what I was saying is one or two things that you would give as a tip for people to just keep moving forward. Like you seem to have a drive that allows you to just keep moving forward. You don't get bogged down. You just take it as it comes and you move. So what is your maybe one or two things that make you do that?
Sure. I guess at the back of my mind is that life's going to go on with or without you, so you might as well be part of it. Keep moving forward is definitely something I agree with. That if you feel like you're stuck in the shit, if things are bogging you down, try to move faster to get out of it quicker. That's the way that I'm trying to sort of figure it out. If you've got a problem, tackle it head on, deal with it, move out of it, get back to the position that you were comfortable in before. Don't sit there and dwell in it and throw your hands up like the whole world's collapsing around you. Everyone has a hard time. Currently going through one a little bit at the moment. I'm not out of the picture. I'm just taking a little step back, to compose before I really hit it with the left and right again. So just move forward as much as you can constantly, even if they're baby steps. Just move forward. Yeah, that's how I look at it.
I love that. Yeah, and I love that. I like how you worded that. Life's going to happen with or without you, so you might as well be a part of it. I mean, that's an amazing saying. I think I'm going to keep that. I'm going to make a little. I'm going to make a graphic out of it, and I'm going to quote you. I'll put your name on the bottom. I love it. It was really good. So I appreciate it so much for you coming. I'm glad that you've taken some downtime, so that you can take care of Rocksteady, because I think that's important. And your fan base is always here, so we're not going anywhere.
Thank you very much. I
appreciate you.
I appreciate you and the community here for all that you guys do and the shows that you bring to this platform, Deanna. So keep up the good work. You're amazing. And to all the amazing listeners that are supportive here, you guys are great. I mean, this doesn't happen without you guys.
This is true. And I apologize for the network, because I don't know what's happening with the network.
Don't apologize, because I know it's not you and it's not your side. This happened to me again on Sunday, and I was so pissed about it. I felt like I dropped the ball, and now that I can see it happening the other way, it's like totally not your fault. It's frustrating, though. It's so frustrating because you can't get the proper show out that you want. I get it. Hopefully, it's like you've gone through the teething problems now, and yours is sorted for your shows. But yeah, I don't know. I think we should have a quick word to what's going on with the app here. We should have a quick word with them.
Yeah, we need to send an email. I'm going to be sending that.
Check in.
But anyway, but thank you so much for coming on the show. I like to tell all of my guests and the people who are around us, but I see you and you are beautiful. Like for real.
Thank you.
Want people to know that I see you. And Rock, I do see that. And I see how you are with your guests, and I see how you are in the connections that you make and the people that you impact who follow you around and have that loyalty. It's not for nothing. And so I just want you to know that I see it. It is really just truly a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
And with that being said, I like to tell everybody here to shine on. And I'm going to play us out with some music, because I'm not a fan of wait bots. So I'm going to pull everybody down in the audience. I'm going to turn off my video. I'm going to listen to a little bit of music, and then I'll end the show.
Let me quickly say thank you for having me on here on this show. I really appreciate you taking the time with me and with others that you do have these shows with. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, you're welcome, and you're welcome back anytime. Believe it.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Discreetly, not completely, your eyes revealing time you were leaving. No, don't leave, just leave. No, don't leave. No, don't leave, just be. No, don't